Hello. Hey,
Hi.
how you
Hi, how are
doing?
you? Welcome to the show.
I'm
How's everything
wonderful.
going? Welcome to Sports Hip Hop with DJ Mad Max. We got Nzinga Imani joining me here for Live 365, iHeartRadio, Mad Max Radio. Welcome to the show. How's everything going? Is Zatima season 3 underway here?
Yes, everything has been amazing. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So how are you feeling about the premiere? Because now it's officially taken off BET big time. How are you feeling about this third season right now?
I feel amazing. Whenever a show can get to a third season, it's a huge accomplishment. But I feel like with this season, you get to see more into each and every one of the characters. You get to see the characters interact differently. I feel like as a cast, we're a lot closer. So it's great to see it all come together on screen.
Yeah, and this was the spinoff when we look at it from the beginning of Sisters, and you always said that the character Angela was written for you. In what ways did you relate to her right away?
Well, I feel like Mr. Perry definitely gave us a lot of freedom with our characters. So on the page, Angela was a lot more reserved, a lot more conservative almost. But then as we were filming, he gave me a lot of room to play, to really bring my normal personality outside. And when the cameras were off, things that he saw me do, he'd be like, "Do that, bring that into Angela." And so I think because of that, you get to see a lot of my personality in the show because I get to play even more so than I do normally because I get the freedom of it not being my own personal self, but being a whole nother character that I get to step into.
Yeah, he lets you really be yourself in the role, and it brings out the best in you and get creative.
Absolutely. We have a lot of fun. Mhm.
Yeah. And what was your first encounter with Tyler like? Because when we look at it, he's someone that's an icon in the industry. But what was your first encounter with him like? Because he seems intimidating when you're going for to work with someone like that or audition. You're gonna have a lot of pressure. So when was it that you realized that this is gonna be the perfect match between us?
Well, it's so funny that you say that because the first time I ever encountered Tyler, I was auditioning for another role in Sisters. I was auditioning for one of the lead girls in Sisters, and I got a call back and I got to audition in front of him in person. And I have to say, I probably bombed it because I was so starstruck. He gave me a compliment right out the gate, and he was just like, "Oh wow, you're so beautiful." And to hear him say that, I think I immediately was like, "Ugh." I just became a kid and turned into like a little kid. And so I didn't get that. But however, the next time that we encountered each other, I was working on All the Queen's Men, and I was very confident in the role. I felt like that role I got to play a lot with too, and I think he got to see the energy I brought to that role and entrusted me with this role for Angela, and once again entrusted me to play it and bring it to life. So it's been an incredible experience. Every time I get to work with him, we really get to do an intense amount of work in a short period of time, and we have a lot of freedom along with a lot of structure. So it's an incredible experience that like no other, almost like a boot camp is how I feel whenever I'm on the Tyler Perry sets.
Wow. No, that is an experience. And just looking at it, because you really grind it out here. And do you think Zach and Fatima are going to pull it together this season?
Well, I think despite my best efforts, Zach and Fatima have maintained a very strong relationship, no matter what anybody says. So I'm I'm hoping that they're going to stick it out because that's what Fatima is all about, seeing them get through all of these different struggles. One thing I can say about Angela this season that's different from the past seasons is because Fatima is expecting, she's no longer trying to get Fatima away from Zach. She's just trying to make Fatima feel as comfortable and safe as possible, whatever that means. So she's no longer focused on her friend finding someone else or keeping her options open. She knows that Fatima and Zach are locked in now. She's not going anywhere. So she's a lot more supportive of the relationship and also wanting Fatima to be very honest with Zach, wanting her to confide in him and lean on him because her friend often has to be so strong. And I think she wants her to be able to relax and feel safe with the person she's with.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you look at the show because it kind of really reflects on what's really going on in society right now where people
Hmm.
just aren't satisfied. They got to have 20, 30 options now. And
Absolutely.
it's just not like that anymore. And what was interesting learning about your life story and just your personal history and things and me learning about you was that there was a guy that was intimidated by you. And that's something that's interesting that when you're in the entertainment industry, uh, apparently people are just intimidated by successful people. That's what I'm learning. I've gone through my own experiences and I heard about one particular with yours, and it's just interesting to hear that when you're in this business, people are intimidated by you.
Absolutely. I think I approached a lot of situations with a lot of confidence, a lot of like I don't want to say like self assurance because it's not an ego thing. It's more like I'm gonna come, I'm gonna present who I am and how I am, and believe that that is enough. Standing in the room, and I think particularly when people see that from a plus size person, they're confused, they're caught off guard, they're not expecting it. But that's how I'm gonna come every time. So I can't speak for them. I don't know how they're gonna take it, but I know I'm gonna come with my fullest self, with the energy, with the fun, with the freedom, the knowledge, and all the things that I've acquired. And I'm gonna know that I'm gonna step up to the plate and be ready. So sometimes that scares people, but that's not my problem. That's theirs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you've had the skill set since you were young, and I did want to get into your life story and just all the way up to the point of now because you're originally born in Queens. That's where I got my start. I love Queens. So,
Oh
what's
yeah.
kind of some of your early memories of being in Queens? Because then you went to Atlanta. So, what were some of your early memories that you can remember being in Queens?
I have no memories of
Wow.
Queens. I literally moved when I was a few weeks old. My
Oh, okay.
mother,
Wow.
yeah, my mother's from South America, so I think she spent as long as she could in that climate. And in February, after having me, she got out of there and moved to warmer climates. So I don't have a lot of memories about New York, but I do go back and visit often. My younger sister lived there for a while. I've been there for fashion shows and things like that. And then my true home, Broadway, is there. So of course I want to get back there whenever I can get back to New York to visit shows and hopefully be a part of one someday too. So I love New York, but yeah, I probably can't stay there. I don't think I can handle the cold
No,
either.
yeah, the cold weather's ridiculous because I've been in the tri-state my whole life. I'm planning
Yeah.
on relocating by the end of this year, and I just as soon as when you get older, you get tired of it, and it's
Hmm.
too much. And I think you're in the right climate down there in Atlanta. This was going to be a question I had for you before we really break through. Is Atlanta the new Hollywood? Because everyone's always like, oh, go to L.A., go to New York. Is Atlanta the new Hollywood? Just based on all the shows that you see there now, and you being there, and all the stars coming out of there. It's the hip hop. It's the new hip hop mecca. New York will always be the original hip hop mecca, but Atlanta, it's the new one. So would you say
Uh-huh.
that Atlanta's the new Hollywood?
I would, and I
Mhm.
sure hope so because this is my
Yeah.
home, and I don't want to ever leave it. I love visiting New York. I love visiting LA. They're definitely different paces. I
Mhm.
feel like there's nothing like Atlanta, and I feel this is definitely the mecca with Tyler Perry Studios being here. I know for BET, a lot of the shows come from this area as well. So I sure hope so because this is where I have a lot of roots. This is where my family is. So.
Yeah.
Atlanta.
You got your start there with being in school, musical theater in high school, and it
Mhm.
was your choir teacher that really, with especially with you being in the courses for the theater program, that told you you're going to be in this musical, and this was
Yeah.
the person that really pushed you, I heard, and believed in you.
Yes. Dr. Glory. Yes. I was always in music, whether I was a praise team leader at church or in choir or chorus at school. My course teacher loved me and was like, "Hey, we want you to do this musical." I didn't really understand what that even meant. And although I had been in musicals in church and things like that, I guess we didn't really classify them the same way as when you see like a Broadway style musical. And to break into that, my first musical was Susical the Musical.
Okay.
And there's so many like underlying tones and then beautiful music and things that resonate on so many different levels. And it's a kids play, but it's also very adult. It was just mind boggling. I felt wide open and exposed to a whole new world. And to this day, I feel like that every time I go see a show. Like, there's nothing like musical theater and the way that it can open up so many worlds. And I just love it. But yes, chorus was a big part of that. Dr. Glore. So many of my teachers honestly had a huge hand in my trajectory from my theater teachers in college who I did not originally plan on majoring in theater, but after encouragement and people seeing different skills in me and being like, no, you can do this, I snuck and changed my major. And when my mom found out, she was not happy, but I hope she's happy now.
What did your mother originally want you to do?
Well, so oddly enough, I've always been like the genius of the family. I've been the super I was always in the high achiever classes and sent away to different schools for different programs. So she had high hopes if I was not going to be a doctor that I would be something like that. You know what I mean? So for her doctor genius daughter to pursue entertainment, she's still not fully on board. Even with all the success, she's still not fully on board. But she encourages it now for sure. She sees the fruits of my labor. So
Oh, that's good. And because I do have my own issues with some certain family members not really
Mhm.
seeing the value in me, what I do kind of. Was it hard for them to realize kind of under it's hard for you because not everyone in your family knows the entertainment business. They don't know your life because they weren't entertainers. So was it tough for your family to really understand your career at one point?
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
think my mom was always very encouraging when it came to being a part of the arts. She always wanted me to be a well-rounded person. She was one of the first people to put me in a dance class or in a singing lesson. But that was always supposed to be kind of like a backside, help you be a well-rounded person, not the trajectory of your life. This is not what you're supposed to do. This is just another skill you have. So to see me kind of drop the other things that I was super good at and pursue this fully, it still shakes her up. She still doesn't quite understand the business. She's an island woman, so she likes structure, and that's one thing that this this path is definitely not. So she doesn't fully understand, and sometimes that can be hard. But at the end of the day, I know what I'm doing it for, and to have the freedom and now more of the backing with this new career success to push me forward. There's no stopping. So she'll
Yeah.
get on board eventually.
Oh, well, I'm sure she will. And it was
Mm.
before everything, though. You really wanted to be a model, and I learned about some of the barriers that you broke. So when did you start to notice that with the plus size model? Because that's something that you've created with the plus strut, the plus model strut, and just all the clothes that you've been making gearing toward plus size models. So when did you start to notice that those barriers start to be broken on your end? That you really started to shift a new movement in the industry?
Well, the being a plus size model wasn't my original goal whatsoever. It wasn't really my plan for myself, but I fell into it. I got a lot of opportunities, and I just decided to grab them and keep going. And I learned so much along the way that helped me, even by way of being, in these movies and television shows, because a lot of that style, a lot of the root work that you learn from being a model and being in front of the camera, you can use that when you're on the on the front of the camera, but in another way. So all those things have been really, really helpful. And the plus strut is actually a 5K that is catered to plus size people in North America. So that is an event that is going on its fifth year, fifth annual plus strut. And this year is going to be even bigger and better than any year before. We all come together as a community, plus size people, allies of the community, support each other, get to the finish line, do your first 5K, or whether or not this is your fifth year, or if you even run in other 5K marathons, this is a special place because you feel like you really found your community. It's a safe place. You don't feel judged, and you feel super supportive because we're there at the finish line rooting for you, even if you're the last person. We're going to wait. We're going to stay there and support you and walk you through. So every year that I've gone has been so heartwarming and so life changing for so many people that I'm super excited to see what year five is going to bring.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And how's everything as far as because when we look at it, have you noticed the conditions improve in the industry as far as how women are treated? I mean, you being in the modeling space, is it better than what it once was? I mean, you have the whole Me Too movement. You're seeing guys getting taken down left and right. We know who, I won't mention names. We see them being taken down every week now. So have things really changed? Is there definitely improvements in the industry now?
Well, I'll say this because my success in the industry is more recent, it's hard to say what people experienced 5, 10 years ago. From the stories that I've heard, it was a lot more difficult, or at least than any of the situations I've ever been presented with. And I feel very fortunate knowing that those same things haven't come up in my life. But there's still a lot of work to be done, whether it be for women or for plus size people, because there's a lot of discriminating factors that happen within that as well. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done across the board. And I'm hoping that we continue that work and people keep fighting for what is important to them, because that's another thing. People want to judge you even for speaking up and defending yourself. So I will always try to be vocal when I can. I'm also very solution oriented. So I try to avoid problems a lot of the time, but if nobody knows there's a problem, that's still a problem.
Mhm.
So, making noise is not a bad thing.
No, it's not. It ruffles a lot of feathers, and I'd rather be just like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. They
Yeah.
ruffled a lot of feathers, but they did it in the name of good. And
Yeah.
you saw the impact that they have. And even you look at someone like Tupac, revolutionary, and it ruffles a lot of feathers. But we
Yeah.
need people like them.
Absolutely.
Yep. Do it scared. Where does this phrase stem from? Where was that first experience to where you said you got to do it scared?
Oh, I don't know where it first stemmed from, but I feel like I've always had that mentality.
Hmm.
I'm the middle child, so I've always had a bit of a rebel in me, and nothing scares me right off. Well, I won't say nothing scares me, but I've always been somebody who kind of totes the line and is right on the edge of danger, and I have all the scars to prove it. I promise you. But yeah, so I think it's always kind of been within me where I'm taught to do it because you don't know what you can do until you try. So yeah.
No, you got to go for it no matter what it is. If you believe in yourself, just got to take the risks. And a lot of people, they're afraid to take that leap. And in order for you to
Mhm.
get to where you want to be, you got to take that stride.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So out of college, how did you get as far as like into the agent scene and everything? Because I know with the modeling and all that, you had pages reaching out to you, and then you eventually working with Fashion Nova. You had the pages reaching out to you, and to be perfect for the influencers.
Yeah.
But as far as agents in the industry, when did you start to really get the perfect match there? Because I know you were in a web series with Dream that
Woo.
was beforehand too.
Yes, Dream the Urban Musical. That was so
Yeah.
much fun. When it came to pursuing acting professionally, it was really hard for me to get
Hmm.
agency. And I wasn't really sure why. I felt like I had the indie credits. I felt like I was going to the classes and doing all of the things, but it was really hard for me to break through. And how I met my first agents was actually a makeup gig. I went, they had a reality show that they were filming in Jamaica, and they needed a makeup artist to come with them. They loved my work. I had done a few of their clients' work, makeup, headshot makeup before. And so I went on the trip. And on the trip, they got to experience a lot of me. They heard me sing, they saw me play, and things like that. And I think they were just kind of like surprised, like, "Girl, you should act." And I was like, I've submitted to your agency 10 times. Like, what do you mean I should act? I've been trying to. And after that, just being in the right place at the right time and them getting to experience me up close and personal, I signed with them. And next thing I know, before the end of that year, I was signed as, oh, not signed, but I got the opportunity to be a lead in a BET pilot. So, sometimes the doors just open, and sometimes the way you get in the door is not the way you expect. Because even with makeup, that was never my plan either. My professors just were like, "Hey, you're pretty good at painting. You're good at costume makeup in class. Maybe you should try doing makeup artistry." And that snowballed into a whole career for me as well. So consistently just expanding on the God-given gifts that I've been granted has consistently opened new doors and new doors and new doors, and ultimately led me back to my original talent and passion. So I'm super grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you thought about even potentially, and I'll get back into the makeup in a little bit, but because you are also a singer, have you thought about recording some music?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I, you know, I struggle with that just because I feel like the musical person in me has a hard time finding my own original sound
Mm.
because I can sound like so many different genres, and so many of them feel like home to me that trying to find and limit myself to a genre or anything like that has been really difficult. So I've recorded things and done a lot of parodies that I have released because it's a little easier for me to feel free to release parodies because I know people will take them as a joke. But when it comes to the music and the art, we can be harsher critics for those types of things. So hopefully this year, by my birthday, February 11th, well, I guess that would be next year, we will have something to drop and show the people because I realize if you've met me within the last 2 years of my career, you might not even know I sing. So we have to fix
Yeah.
that.
Now, is this something potentially you would really want to take further with even signing record deals, or is this something just doing it based? Because obviously you're going to do it off of the base of love. I know today everyone's trying to get into the music space to chase clout, but right now I feel as though that you have a gift at it. So, are you looking to want to expand more and getting into a deal, or are you looking just doing it just based off of the love?
I can't say that I would ever want to be on like a Beyonce level where
Mhm.
I'm traveling the world and doing tours. That's not really the passion that I have for music, unless it was like a Broadway tour. I like to do music that tells a story where I can still act and bring a whole story to life. And I'm not necessarily so interested in being a solo artist that's touring or anything like that. But I do want to release some albums and have some work of my own that speaks to my own voice, and that even if it's within my own community of current fans or soon to be fans, that can support and feel seen and heard with my music. So there will be music, I
Yeah.
promise.
And I heard one of your influences is Queen Latifah. So when did you start to really fall in love with her work? Because she's another actress and artist too.
I mean, honestly, I can't think of a time of my life where she wasn't kind of a representation, where I didn't see myself in her. Um, from her humor, I mean, she's because her the span of her career is so vast. Like from comedy to drama, she does so much, and I think that's the kind of artist that I really want to be, where I'm not limited to one stereotypical a type of character, but I can play with levels and I can play with being grungy, whether I'm being sexy, whether I'm a love interest or I'm a villain. I can play with all of it, and I don't have any limits with that.
Mhm. And this is an interesting question because I was reading an article and Lala Anthony was saying that you can't just do one thing anymore. You got to have all these different side gigs. Why do you think that is now compared to like the early 2000s, even the 90s? Do you think it's because of social media? It's just you got to keep doing because everyone else is doing it pretty much.
Social media probably does have a bit to do with it because that's a whole job within itself.
Oh,
To,
yeah.
to show it all, because you can be doing a million things and not posting any of it, but social media is a whole nother job. But competition is more fierce now.
Mhm.
There's a lot more people in the world. There's a lot more competition. There's a lot more sources of entertainment. So it's tough out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think because I always say like social media has the positives because we're able to get out there, but it's too much. It's too oversaturated. I think if you take away social media for like a year, we'll see who's really in this for the long run.
No, thank you.
You want social media because I feel as
Oh
though
no.
you could run on your own for
Well, I mean, there's so many plus sides to social
yeah,
media, and I can't lie and say that it hasn't been a huge part of my
yeah,
trajectory, because for it's one thing to book the roles, but I know a lot of the opportunities and auditions that have come to me have been off of social media. My first big break,
yeah. It's
the
true.
writer of the show called me on Instagram Messenger and was like, "Hey, can you drive out here tomorrow for a callback?" And that was my first leading role in a series. So I would never want to take
Yeah.
away social media
I do. I
and
think
that.
that they should limit, like, when we look at, because there's too many people that compete with, real talent such as yourself, where people buy followers, they buy blue checks. I think there needs to be a limit to that because
No,
that's where it gets
absolutely.
hairy.
Yeah, absolutely. The bot system and all of
Oh,
and even the way the advertisements have taken over, and like sometimes I'll be scrolling on Instagram and I'm like, where are the people that I know?
hmm,
Like, where are
yeah.
the people that I follow? Because I'm consistently being forced to watch things that I didn't agree to. So I definitely can see where the negative side is, but ultimately, hopefully, we'll learn how to harness it for ourselves. But I feel like the rules are changing consistently with social media too. So who knows?
Yeah, do you see an app made strictly for creatives to where it's kind of limited? Because I feel as though, like we talk about the oversaturation, but I do see because it looks like some of these apps are dead because you said that you don't even see the people that you really know and who you follow anymore. You
Mhm.
have Elon Musk really drowning the real creatives out on Twitter. It's crazy. So,
Yeah.
do you feel as though that the creatives are going to have to come up with their own app, really?
Well, I'm sure that there are quite a few out there. It's
Yeah.
whether or not we can get enough backing behind them. And that's with any of these platforms. I mean, there's so many more platforms that exist than we're all using right now or we know widely. So I don't know, because I also feel like as soon as something gets popular enough, they buy it and they ruin it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who's to say that that wouldn't change no matter who the owner is? That seems to be the course of the world right now. But hopefully we'll have something that is authentic and we can measure real authentic views and popularity based off of normal interaction versus bots, cuz that's real.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And with the streaming services with artists, we know the dark secrets that go on there with the warehouses they have. We've all heard about it. And
Yeah.
something that you've really exposed is that, and I've heard it from just learning about your interviews and reading, is what was really interesting is that you'll go to auditions where they already have the part picked out for the person. And it's just like, why are you wasting these people's times? So, what was kind of an experience that you may have witnessed or went through with that early in your career? We don't have to name names or anything, but when did you kind of realize a certain instance that, man, I really went for this role and then I found out that this person was already picked?
Well, yes, that's happened. But I will say that's also always an opportunity to find another part in
Mhm.
the show, because typically when that happens, it's a known named actor that they have for that part. But
Yeah.
they still have lots of other roles to film or to fill in the show. So if you come and you bring your all and you're your authentic self, like if you fit another part, or if they like you enough, they'll write you in.
Wow.
And I feel like that's what I've seen. Even with the first time I was in All the Queen's Men, my scene was they added on scenes because of, I guess, the chemistry. They like the character, or whatever the case may be. Um, it's an opportunity, and if you look at it like that instead of something that was potentially taken from you, then you'll be better off, because it's not yours until it's yours.
Yeah.
And being on the other side of that, where now it's like things might be written for me, but people are auditioning for the same part, I definitely don't want to say anything negative about anyone who came before me and was blessed to be in that position, because it's all learning, it's all stepping stones. And then we want to be in this position and we start here. When we get there, we appreciate the work that it took to get to that level. So I can't be mad at it at all.
Yeah. No. When do you notice, because it's interesting when with getting your roles, you said you got your big breakthrough social media and people reaching out to you. Do you feel as though that when you're not trying too hard is when the great opportunities come, would you say, or is it when you're going towards it hard? Because I would notice at times with myself, like when I'm not going too hard, that's when things come sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Particularly with social media, oddly enough, because I feel like my lower effort content does so much better than the stuff that I really put time and energy into. I had a video where I dropped my earring and it bounces on the floor and it got like 8 million views. And then I put all my time and energy and money into this beautiful mermaid parody musical, and no one saw it. I was like, what is social media doing? But at the same time, I'm proud of the work that I did when I created that beautiful content. And hopefully it'll circle back and people will see it and the right people will see it. But sometimes it can be so discouraging to realize that the silliest things get so much attention, whereas the thoughtful, creative, artful things get swept under the rug. It's discouraging, but it's a
Yeah.
part of life. And hopefully, if the right people really start trying to look for it, or stop eating up all their time with the mediocre earring drops or whatever the case may be, then maybe the real art will thrive. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Like the hawk to us, but we'll unbelievable.
Yeah. I
It's a
mean, those things live infinitely.
Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable, it's crazy. I can't believe that's a thing, but it is. I wanted to get to the makeup thing because you mentioned the makeup, but you were also into teaching, I heard, too?
Yes,
Yeah?
I was a preschool teacher for years and I loved it. I genuinely loved it. And if if um if it was possible to do both, I probably would still be doing both, but
Mhm.
it is impossible to spend 15 hours, I mean to spend 12 hours a day with 15 3-year-olds and think that you will have any energy left to do anything else with your life. It's just no, it's not going to happen. So I had to make a choice, but one thing I can say that's amazing is some of my students still come and support. They'll come to
Wow.
plays and support. That they're happy to see me. They'll message through their parents' Facebook or something. Ms. D, so happy to see you. Congratulations and all that stuff. So it's really cute and cool to see them grow up and being able to see me living out my dream. Because even when I was there, a lot of those parents and grandparents of the students would be like, "What you doing here? I don't feel like you," like they would just be like, "You're a great teacher, but I don't feel like you should be here." And I never really knew how to take that at the time, but I had to understand what they meant by that. They wanted me to do more. They wanted more for me. So I'm glad that I still get to be an example to those kids in a different way now.
Mhm. And it's interesting we bring this up that because you were a preschool teacher, and I actually just had a conversation with Brett Barish, who's the CEO of Bel Air, and we were talking
Mhm.
about it because I said that if there's people out there that have a dream and they're working a regular job, it's tough. When do you really go and really get out of that job that you're not happy in to pursue your dreams? And then people say, well, I have this expense to pay for. You still got to chase that dream. And he said, yeah,
Yeah.
he even agreed. You got to cut the cord even if you have some expense to pay because you got to go after that dream. So when did you really cut the cord from being a preschool teacher to do this now?
Ooh, that's a great question because
Thank
I
you.
feel like I never get to touch on this. In the midst of me teaching, I got an opportunity to be an extra while they were filming the first Black Panther.
Wow.
And I was supposed to be on set for I think a week, but because of technical difficulties and some different things that happened on set, we ended up being on set. That group of us, it was actually a tribe, the River Tribe. We were on set for a month together, Monday through Friday, consistently on the edge of a cliff or whatever the case whatever we were doing in the movie as extras. And we also got to see Chadwick Boseman, Lupita Nyong, Angela Bassett. We got to see all these people up close and personal do the work. There was no way I could go back to teaching after that. It was a
Yeah.
master class for me. And literally the day I got back, I put in my end of the semester notice because I didn't want to leave my babies too soon. But yeah, and even just being away for all that time, it kind of reminded me that like they'll be okay. Life goes on. The kids will be okay. I was able to step away for a month, so it kind of made it more clear. Like they'll be okay. Pursue what you need to. It's your life. You need to go after what you love. And yeah, after that, I couldn't look back.
Mhm.
After seeing Angela Bassett and Chadwick Boseman, you know, see them in their craft day after day, I could not do anything but pursue the dream. So that was the day I was changed.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is the perfect story, and thank you for sharing that. No, you have to go chase that dream. I know people get, oh, I have this car payment or this payment to pay. You'll figure it
Yeah.
out. Quit that
Yeah.
job that's really tying you down, and just
Hmm.
go out there and really pursue your dreams because it's
Yeah.
holding a lot of people back, and it's the scarce
Absolutely.
mindset. And you see someone such as yourself, you quit the job, and there
Yeah.
you are. You're making it big here. BET. Oh man. Big
Thank
shows. Look at this. And then you
you.
got your own product line too. So I did want to talk about that. You
Uh-huh.
finally designing clothes. So let's get into the design process of you really picking out. How deep do you really go into this as far as the fibers and the particular designs with your clothes?
So my first experience with designing for a brand was for Fashion to Figure. They were doing collaborations with different influencers, and I've always been someone who liked to draw different designs and outfits and stuff like that. But to really get to design it and present it to the team who was there going to send me cloth samples and talk about different alterations and how we can improve things and have that whole the industry behind me. You know what I mean? Like a already functioning, fully developed fashion brands to then come behind me and help me with it. It was so full circle to see how it all comes together. And then to have it drop under a brand that is already solidified and to see how well it did. And then I got to wear it on the show on I believe on Sisters I wear that first design that I made. And it was incredible. And I was like, I am so specific with the type of fashion that I like, and it's oftentimes not made in my size, and have to do alterations and things like that. So to be able to create something like that I know doesn't come in our size because I haven't seen it anywhere, and I've been searching for it, but to make it and make it fit us and have it be so successful was really inspiring. So it made me want to start my own line, and now I have Shop Namani that I created with my older sister, and it focuses on plus size fashion but with a twist because I'm a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more. Um, I like to embrace my curves for not even knowing how to say it, but basically, I want to be able to show off a little, and I think the clothes that we choose for Shop Namani does that. It embraces your curves. It shows off a little. It's not about muting you or turning you down or making you small. It's about embracing who you are, how vibrant you are, your personality. And so that's what Shopping Money is all about. And I hope our clothes reflect that. Right now, it's boutique style. As we grow and develop, I hope to be able to do the same thing that I was able to do with fashion to figure and create and draw out my designs and then have them manufactured, especially right now where as so many brands are limiting their plus size clothing and making they're no longer some of these factories are no longer even making and producing these larger sizes. So it's still a battle that we're facing, but I have hope. I'm gonna hope to be the future of the fashion industry and continue to make clothes for all of us.
No, oh, you know you are, and you're definitely, as I would say, a voice for the voiceless. Because, like you said, they're not making the plus size sizings out there with a lot of these companies, and you're really filling that void that's needed. And it's something that's so scary nowadays. It's just how we look at social media, that we compare ourselves to
Mhm,
someone else. You know how someone else looks and all this stuff, and then people, well, you don't go to the gym, you don't do this. Some of the
mhm,
biggest jerks I've ever seen go to the gym. So it's like, yeah, okay, you got
mhm.
all these muscles and you think you're in shape, but you don't
Yeah,
have your life together and you're a jerk. It's just, I don't like how we're always so quick to compare ourselves to somebody else, and then we have people judging us on how we look. As long as we're happy, who cares? Who
yeah. I
cares?
mean, and then it's also oftentimes a misconception because some of
Yeah,
the women that I know who go to the gym every single day are plus size. It's not always that simple, and there's so many other factors that go into it. So I just hope that we can all just accept ourselves, enjoy our journeys, and not judge and put any preconceived notions on anyone because you never know what that person is dealing with or why they may be plus size or if they even want to change that about themselves. So.
yeah. I did want to touch on, because COVID was when you really started to take advantage of being an influencer. So was that when you started really linking up with the companies as for the fashion?
Uh, yes, but actually, something happened a little bit before the
Mhm.
pandemic that really forced my hand, and that was I had a house fire.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so yeah, I lost pretty much everything, and I
I'm
think
sorry to
that
hear
was
that.
when.
Wow.
Well, honestly, it was the cleanse necessary, I guess.
Mm.
Um, I do think that sometimes those things happen where you have to purge things in order to step into new things, and the floodgates open after that. Everyone was safe, so that was great. But we did lose everything. So realizing that I had to approach these companies differently, that really put some fire under me. And I had to reach out and like, hey, I know I've been working with you for this long, but I can no longer accept this, and this is what I'm proposing. And it was shocking to me to realize that most of these companies were like, we were waiting on you to say something. And I'm like, what? Like, I can't even imagine how many things I missed out on just for being scared to ask prior to that. But when you have a house fire and you need something, you can't be so timid, you can't be so shy. You have to just stand on business. And when I did that, I realized how much I was not standing on business before.
Yeah.
and and so yeah, I was blessed, and that happened probably about a year before the pandemic. So I already had that business mindset and had already kind of shifted into making money as an influencer right before the pandemic. So it put me in an advantage. And also, I was heavy in making content during the pandemic as well. So I think the exposure from all my content, going viral consistently, and things like that definitely helped propel me when it came to being in different projects and getting roles.
Wow. Yeah, that was an important time for creatives, because that's really the survival of the fittest. And I'm just sorry to hear about the house fire. And you're right. I do think there are times where you need to purge things to get into new beginnings, and the floodgates open for you, as you mentioned there. And another important time. So how are you noticing things with after the strike? Because I try to always ask actors. Some people really, they're not really touching on this. So is there anything that you can give to me? Because I've asked a couple and they kind of really shed away from it. I really don't know if there's really been that many changes, but how has things changed for as far as what you've noticed since the strike?
Well, I definitely think it was necessary. We needed
Mhm.
some protections against AI and things like that. I have no shade towards the strike. However, things have still not quite picked back up, and
Mm.
that's the discouraging part. As actors, our work is already very scarce and can be limited, and it can be very scary being an actor. But particularly after the strike, when things have slowed down and they haven't really picked back up yet, I know a lot of actors, and not even just actors, but anyone in the side of that production industry. I think we're all a little scared. We're
Yeah,
all
yeah.
a little We're all a little shaken up, and we're hoping that it comes back and comes back with some fierceness because we need it. And taking that little break was intense. You know, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. So having such a long strike was detrimental to a lot of people. And I know a lot of people who have not recovered still. I was very fortunate because we got right back to work. I mean,
Wow.
they said the strike was over, and I think we got a call that same night. What are your availability dates? So it's been a real blessing being a part of the TPS family because we stay working, and you know we'll figure it out, whether it was during the pandemic and we're all living in a bubble to get the work done. That's something I'm super grateful for. We were some of the first people to go back to work during the pandemic, so it's been an incredible experience there. And I'm hoping that after this strike, things eventually pick back up and feel like they used to.
I agree. I hope it does, and I'm sure it will. Things take time. I know that was a sudden pause that happened, and it was
Yeah.
needed. But I think we're still trying to get back from that. And I did want to ask you because you're working with Tyler Perry, one of the all time greats. But how was it working with Taye Diggs?
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. It was so much fun and so affirming because as a musical person, you know, seeing him in Rent and stuff like that, he's legendary. So being able to sit across from him and to make him laugh authentically, because we were, in the scene we did, there was a lot of ad libbing going on. There was a lot of stuff that you didn't even see that didn't even make it to the movie. But some of it was because I made him break character because he thought I was so funny. And to make Taye Diggs break character because he's laughing at you, I've won. Okay. No one has to tell me anything else. I felt like I had made it. That was the reassurance I needed to know that I was doing the right thing and I was in the right place. So that was a lot of fun. And he was a lot of fun. And that film was a lot of fun. So check out The Comeback on Peacock, y'all.
Yeah, check out the comeback. We remember we talked about the Dream too. We talked about the Dream web
Mhm.
series that you had there. That was big, and it was like the Empire before Empire really happened. That was an important web series.
Yes, so Dream the Urban Musical. It was me and a group of my Georgia State classmates made a musical series created by the Shea West. Shout out to the Shea West. And it really was like a Glee versus Empire kind of baby before all of that had happened. And it racked up millions and millions of views on YouTube. And I'm sad to say that it's not up anymore, but it was revolutionary. And I think the popularity from that even kind of jump started my social media career as well, because this was right at the beginning of Instagram and stuff like that. So to be recognized, and this is while I was working at a skating rink and going to the regular malls and stuff, and I'm being recognized as this character from a YouTube series. I think that was my first little taste of fame, and I loved it. So it definitely influenced everything I did after that.
Yeah, big time. And besides Angela, because Angela's really an important character in your career, what's that other role that you've done so far that has been your favorite?
Oh, um, I would have to say, oh my goodness, her name was Maya, and
Okay,
it was a character on Curves, which is the BET pilot that the first BET
it's the
pilot
first
that I
thing you
ever got to
got.
do. Yes, and I just really related to the character in so many different ways. But you can still check that out on BET.com if you guys do want to see Curves. It was really fun. I got to act alongside Raven Goodwin, who I had been watching from afar on Disney Channel and things like that for years. So to play, a co-star to her was phenomenal. And yeah, I feel like that character really represented who I was at the time as a struggling artist, as someone dealing with love and unsure, young love and things like that. So it was a lot that I reflected on when it came to taking on that character. Not only was that, but that writer was the one who contacted me at midnight on Instagram and was just like, "Hey, have you seen this audition?" Yeah, she called me on Instagram and was like, "Can you be here tomorrow?" And they had already finished auditioning, but she really wanted to see me, so I drove in for actually what was their callbacks, but was my first audition, and I got the part. So I felt like it was meant for me, and she saw that it was very much. She saw that the character she wrote was very much like me as well. So I felt like I could bring my full self to that character and not have to change anything because it felt like who I was at the time, and I got to just play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a role that you want? Because I feel as though there's not much you can do. You're really expressive about what you want to do in life, and you're accomplishing everything: singing, clothes, influencing a lot. So we see all the talents there. So what's a role that you want?
Ooh, I think something that I never really get picked for because I'm just such a ball of light is a villain.
Mm,
But I think I could pull that off really well. So I'm hoping the opportunity to prove myself comes along. But yeah, I want to play a villain. I think that would be fun and a stretch because the villain never thinks they're the villain. So even figuring out that backstory of why I am the way I am and justifying my actions, like all of that excites me. So that's what I hope to do.
Is this would be for a superhero movie? That's what you want to do?
Not necessarily.
Mhm.
Not
Like
necessarily.
a
Now
thriller,
I wouldn't
even
be opposed. I'm sorry.
like a thriller movie, maybe.
I'm open to all of those things, but I feel like there can be villains in all types of stories. So it
Yeah,
wouldn't necessarily have to be a superhero or anything like that. Because I mean, I'm trying to think of an example of a villain that's not in a superhero movie, but for some reason only only superheroes are coming to mind.
yeah.
But in every movie there is that antagonist. So just playing with that and figuring out my dark reasoning for certain things, I think would be a fun new thing for me.
I think so. And Zinga, is there anything else that you would love to let your audience know, your fans know that you have on the way? Anything else that we didn't cover here tonight?
Huh. I don't think so. I feel like we've covered everything, but this
Yeah.
has been really, really fun.
Oh, thank you. It
Yeah,
was
you're
great.
awesome.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot. I appreciate it. And it was great to getting to know you and just being familiar because I am familiar with the show on BET and just your work and just learning about you even deeper. It was interesting to learning about your career. Very talented and very influential. I know that. So it's only going to
Thank
be
you.
really taking off from here.
Thank you, Max. I
Yes.
appreciate it. This has
Of
been
course.
fun.
Yes, it definitely was. And you're always welcome on the show anytime. I want to thank Amy. Thank you to Lord for reaching out to. I appreciate, yeah, because you always have an open seat here. And make sure you let them know all your plugins too for social media and everything else. Your last words as far as promotion.
Oh, well, check me out in Nzinga Imani on Zatima and Sisters on BET and BET Plus, and check out my shop Namani at shopNimani.com. And you can catch the Plus Strut, the first 5K for plus size people in North America at the Plus Strut or theplusstrut.com. And I think that's it for me. But thank you guys so much. And this has
Of
been
course.
fun.
Thank you, Nzinga. Anytime. I had a great time speaking with you. It was a blast, and I look forward to seeing this third season here. The team are big. It's going to be
Absolutely.
big.
Thank you.
Of course. Congratulations on all your
Yes,
success. And until the next time, peace
yes,
out and have
sir.
a
Till
great
next
night.
time.
Yes,
Good
absolutely. Have a
night.
great night.